Hundreds of families in Gaza and Israel anxiously await the release of their loved ones after Hamas and Israel agreed to release captives under a Qatar negotiated deal. The agreement includes a 4-day ceasefire, though it is unclear when that will come into effect. Now, many are hoping the brief truce will lead to extended peace in the besieged enclave following 7 weeks of bombardment. But Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu says he doesn't intend to stop the war until Israel achieves complete victory over Hamas. And for more on this, we'll speak with Dr. A.L. Meras, Senior Lecturer of Peace and Conflict Studies at the University of Sydney. Dr. Meras, thank you so much for joining us. Now, there was some sort of expectation that this truce, this exchange will start at 10 a.m. local time today. What do you think is causing this delay or pushback?
Well, based on the Israeli sources, the Hamas has not yet submitted lists of hostages that it will be releasing, as mentioned, 10 every day, and has not yet signed a contract with the Qataris by which it will abide as part of the agreement. So if these are the two only holdups, then hopefully that will happen soon. We have not heard of anything else, though.
Okay, and we are looking at a Qatar broker deal here between the U.S., Israel, Egypt, and Hamas. What do you think is the nature or the kind of conversations or mediation efforts that are taking place behind closed doors? And how did the Qatari government become a key broker in this conflict?
Obviously, it's very difficult to know what is taking place behind closed doors, but Hamas has been a long-time supporter, Qatar has been a long-time supporter of Hamas and as such enjoys close relations. Some of the political leadership of Hamas have long been living in Qatar, so they have direct access to them, even though the negotiations are taking place between the military leadership that is in Gaza at the moment. But still, Qatar does play a very important role in the negotiations.
Could you also perhaps, Dr. Meras, describe to us the intricacies of this exchange, how it will be implemented, what will be considered a successful deal, and what will be considered a failure?
It is a very problematic, difficult, and risky process because so many things can go wrong. Based on what we know, every day out of the 4 or 5 days, about 10 to 13 Israeli hostages will be released into the hands of the Red Cross. And at the same time, Israel will release a lot of the 150 women and children currently in prisons in Israel into the West Bank. But this is very complex because, first of all, the Hamas does not want to disclose the locations where it was holding the hostages. So part of the agreement is for Israel to hold or delay any kind of intelligence flights over especially the west part of the Gaza Strip where the hostages are believed to be held, but also any kind of escalation in violence, any person that will start, for example, firing on either of the sides can again stop this delicate process, and no one can guarantee that it will actually take place, and if it does, that one of these things will not happen. So very problematic, very risky, and all we have to do is wait until it starts, and then even then it will not be foolproof.
So if this deal fails, the implications on the war, as you've pointed out, will be grave. But if this deal moves forward successfully, who will benefit the most?
First of all, I think if the deal fails, hopefully they will go back into negotiations. So it's not going to be necessarily the end. But in either case, Israel has already declared that once the 4 or 5 days, or maybe even more if the Hamas will be willing to release more hostages, but once this ends, that it will resume the military campaign. Obviously, during the truce period, there will be a lot of international public pressure and pressure by the U.S. and other governments on Israel to to stop the war and to go into negotiations. At the moment, Israel does not seem to be willing to do so, even though the military objective of destroying the Hamas is not likely to be very successful based on what we know. And so Israel seemed to be going for more deterrence than anything else and weakening the Hamas military capability rather than completely destroying them.
Picking up on your point about eliminating Hamas, Prime Minister Netanyahu, again, in his latest press conference, reiterated that point. At what cost is Israel willing to do this? I mean, we are looking at more than 14,000 people already killed, 6,000 of them children.
I think this is the right way to describe what is taking place. The reasons for Israel to want to destroy Hamas are valid because Gaza controlled by Hamas can no longer exist in terms of Israel's security concerns. But at the same time, the toll on the civilian population of Gaza is so terrible that especially if Israel cannot destroy Hamas, then what is going to be the end game for Israel? And this is very a difficult situation for Israel and for everyone really who are involved in how to solve this really conundrum.
Dr. Meros, thank you so much for speaking with us. We've been speaking there with Dr. A.L. Meros, Senior Lecturer of Peace and Conflict Studies at the University of Sydney.